Welcome to the Broken Graciously podcast, where we challenge the culture of brokenness by exchanging beauty for ashes holistically, with candid conversations, transparency, and practical tips. I'm your host, Tanisha B. Lester, lovingly known as Coach T. I'm a Master Certified Life and Business Coach, Certified Christian Coach, Certified Pastoral Counselor, and published author. I look forward to engaging with you in the comments as well as on IG. Follow me on IG at Tanisha B. Lester with the number 1. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Hey, welcome to the final episode of season 2 of Broken Graciously. This is episode 10. So I just wanted to come in and just give a recap of the season and just talk about some key things that stuck out to me from everyone that we talked to. So this is, again, Broken Graciously, where we challenge the culture of brokenness holistically with candid conversations, transparency, and practical tips. And I am your host, Coach T. So this season, we've talked to about 5 or 6 different women, and we really touched on a lot of different things. I wanted to talk about health this season because oftentimes, just as women alone, we often neglect ourselves and do more for others. Like, we put ourselves on the back burner when we should be taking care of ourselves and paying attention to our bodies, because our bodies will always give us clues and signs as to the things that are going on internally. But we often put it aside because, husbands need, kids need, we have jobs, we have civic organizations, we have like all of the things, right? Friends, all of that. So we often put ourselves on the back burner and not pay attention. So I wanted to make sure that I talked to some women who have gone through these issues, as well as talk to some experts in the field in different areas. So we've talked to a nurse, um, we've talked to a physician's assistants, we've talked to chiropractors, we've talked to others in the medical field who have medical knowledge, but have also gone through challenges themselves. So they're aware, right? We've talked about grief. We've talked about a lot of things, but here's what I wanted to point out. The most things that have been repeated overly and consistently is, number 1, joy. We've talked about joy, and I know I've talked about joy before, the difference between joy and happiness. And again, just to reiterate, if you've not heard this before, joy is something that exudes from the inside out versus happiness, which is, on the outside or the surface, and can be something that's fleeting. Joy is something that's more eternal and everlasting, right? It's more visceral. And it exudes from the inside out. So we're talking about physical joy, we're talking about emotional joy, we're talking about soul joy, right? All of those things come from the seat of who we are versus outside circumstances, which can lead to happiness. So that's one thing that we've talked about pretty much consistently through all 9 episodes with our guests. Something else that we've talked about is, being aware, right? Self-efficacy, being aware of how you feel, being aware of your boundaries, being aware of you as a whole. It's important that you don't neglect who you are, whether it's culturally, whether it's you as a woman, whether it's you as a human. It's important that you pay attention to all of that and that you're owning it all, right? I get it, right? We have all of the things to do, we have all the responsibilities, but it's still important and imperative that we pay attention to ourselves. We've also talked about, as point number 3, it's not selfish to pay attention to you, right? There's a difference between being selfish and being selfless. Selfish only looks at self and doesn't consider anyone else outside of self. Being selfless is considering self first, but then considering others. So there's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself, paying attention to your health, paying attention to what makes you happy, and not neglecting your happiness or your joy and sacrificing it for others. We often become and sit in a place of being a martyr to our own self care, our own self worth. And it leads us down a path of being burnt out or being stressed out or leads to depression, right? All of those things follow suit when we aren't taking care of ourselves. So we always want to be cognizant of, even the smallest of changes. If you're experiencing frequent headaches, find out what's going on. If you're, short of breath or like whatever it is, no matter what it is, find out what's going on. Take the time to seek medical attention, take the time to seek psychiatric or, mental health, right? There's nothing wrong with that. In the minority community, it's often looked down upon, but there's nothing wrong with it. There's the strongest thing that you can do is to seek help, right? We often look at it from a minority perspective as looking for help as a weakness. No, that's not weakness. That is showing strength in and of itself because you have the ability to express how you're feeling and to seek the help that you need. That's strength right there. Period. Right? I can't express that anymore. I can't stress that anymore. That seeking help and finding what you need, whether it's in a community, whether it's in an industry, that's the epitome of strength. So I want you to make sure that you're doing that. Stop neglecting yourself for others. That is the most selfless act that you can ever perpetuate for anyone, your family, your job, your children. If you can't take care of you, you can't aptly take care of anyone else. So I wanted to remind you all of that. And I just wanted to, again, recap this entire season of all of the things that we've talked about. So again, we've talked about depression and we've talked about CBD and alternative medicines. If you're someone who particularly doesn't care for taking medical drugs, right? Pharmaceuticals. There's nothing wrong with seeking alternatives. Just make sure you're seeking the right people. Always do your research, no matter who it is, and anyone that you're seeking in a professional community. Look them up. Absolutely, read reviews, ask your community for referrals. We've all had some experiences, and there's nothing wrong with point number 4, advocating for yourself. That's imperative, that's important. And hey, just like I mentioned on the episode, you can fire anybody. You don't have to take subpar care. If they're not paying attention to what you're saying, find another doctor. If they're not addressing your issues, find another doctor. If they're not giving you the level of care that you feel you should be getting, find another doctor. All of that is important, and it's a part of your own self care. You have to be your own advocate first. Just as hard as we as women fight for others, we have to sit in that place of fighting for ourselves as well. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So that is my recap for season 2. I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversations with the different women who have come in, and I'm looking forward to season 3. Season 3, we will be back in October. We're taking all of September off just to regroup and gather our guests for season 3. I'm coming in guns blazing season 3 for Breast Cancer Month, and we're celebrating our breast cancer survivors in the month of October. So, hey, if you are listening to this and you are a breast cancer survivor, I want you to hit me up. You can email me at info@tanishablester.com and say, hey, I have a story to tell about my breast cancer journey and I want to share. I want to see you and I want to put you on this platform to celebrate you as a survivor. So, again, thanks for everyone who has tuned in throughout this whole season, for this second season who has been following this podcast. If you're new to the podcast, welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you for joining in. Again, like and follow, set your notifications on so that you are aware of when the next episode comes out or when the next season begins. Thanks again for tuning in. This has been Broken Graciously, where we challenge the culture of brokenness holistically with candid conversations, transparency, and practical tips. I am your host, Coach T, and I will see you on season 3. Talk to you later.
Thank you for tuning in to the Broken Graciously podcast. Stay tuned for weekly episodes. Follow me on IG at Tanisha B. Lester and the number 1. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Blessings.